In the middle of the 14th century, the bubonic plague swept across the Western world, killing somewhere in the neighborhood of 200 million people. In many places, half the population or more succumbed to this terrible plague. Among the effects of it were the breakdown of societal order, the breakdown of feudalism, the ability of societies to begin to think about other ways of government, other ways of producing things. I mean, the effects are enormous, and historians have traced those very, very well. But one of the effects of the Black Death was certainly the rise of the Protestant Reformation. Although the Protestants, led by people like Martin Luther, Jean Calvin, those folks in the 16th century, happened some 200 years later, the chain between the horror of the Black Death and the rise of the Protestants is an unbroken chain and easily connected. Because what happened in this case, unlike in the case of the Romans, there was not a new religion waiting in the wings to explain why the Holy Church did not have much effect on saving people from the Black Death. Instead, there began to be this sense that the Holy Church had gone wrong, that either the priests were too worldly, or they had lost their connection to God, or that maybe even perhaps the plague was a punishment from God because of the way the church and its followers had gone astray. So people began to question the power of the church and began to question whether or not they needed to obey the church. And so when Martin Luther hung his 97 Theses on the door of the Wittenberg Church, in which he complained about all of these things the Catholics were doing that he thought were wrong, and that the Catholic Church needed to reform itself, he didn't mention its inability to cure disease, but certainly that shaking of faith in the Catholic Church some 300 years before, or 200 years before, had brought a lot of people into a frame of mind where they would be willing to begin to think that the old authoritarian one faith idea of the Catholic Church in Europe didn't make sense anymore. I don't think there's a historian alive who wouldn't make the connection then very closely between the collapse of the old order when the Black Death rampaged through Europe, and not that long afterward, the advent of the Protestant Reformation and all the things that went along with that, the development of the democratic capitalist ideal, the development of the Enlightenment. We could make lots of connections that the Black Death set in motion like a stone dropped in a pond.